Welcome back to Your Monga's Hobby Time. Not really a channel update thing because I don't really see the point in doing that currently. But I'm not going to focus only on Warhammer. I'm going to do other things that interest me. And today is another introduction to something you might know or might not know. It's called Magic the Gathering. More specifically, a format called Magic the Gathering Commander. This is sort of like not a deck tech, it's just a rundown of a deck that I've recently built. I'm gonna upgrade it, so I'll do like an update at some point maybe. But yeah, this is Araumi of the Dead Tide. Now, I'm gonna zoom in a little bit. This deck, also I'm gonna move the thing up because fuck it. This is Araumi of the Dead Tide. Now, it is a merfolk wizard, as you can see. It costs 1 generic and 1 blue and a black, and it says tap to exile cards from your graveyard equal to the number of opponents you have. Target creature in your graveyard gains encore until the end of the turn. The encore cost is equal to its mana cost. Now, encore is basically you exile the card, you pay its mana cost, and then you create a token copy for each opponent. It attacks that turn, it gains haste, and you sacrifice them at the beginning of the next end step. Usually that would be your end step. There are some weird time fuckery things you can go about it if you use stuff like, there's a specific chronologist, like a commander card. Basically you tap and you end the turn, and technically that does not, it skips the end step and it goes straight to the next person's turn, I think. I don't know. I might be wrong about that. But anyway, this is my weird, graveyard, big shit out, fuck you deck. I really quite like it. So yeah, this is Araumi. So the way I built the deck was I wanted to mill myself out, grab a bunch of big creatures with fun, stupid ETB effects, and then play them. Not necessarily for incredibly cheap, but I got a few things in here that means that graveyard spells cost 1 less or 2 less and shit like that. So the first thing we're going to do, move them up a bit, is I'm going to show you my mana base. And it is, yeah, here it is. So the first thing we've got is the swamps. So we've got 2 very nice swamps. And then we've got, so 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 13 swamps. Beautiful, 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 beautiful. Good to have 13 swamps, I think. And not really any nice lands because I haven't found any good islands. I like 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 13. Yep, 13 islands. So we got 26 basic land cards. Very, very special. Very lovely. Very, well, not lovely, but just good enough. That's the one. I haven't actively sorted the... here we go. And then we've got my favourite, the non-basic lands. So the lands that usually, either your non-basic lands or your gate cards that can count as a land or two. So here we have Darkwater Catacombs. Pay 1, tap it, add a Demir, or just blue and a black. We've got Port of Carfell, sacrifice it, mill 4 cards, then return a creature card, good recursion. We've got Contaminated Aquifer, just a nice gate. Terramorphic Expanse, I don't have Myriad Landscape yet. I'm going to replace this with Myriad Landscape at a point, so currently it's just Terramorphic Expanse. We've got Temple of Deceit, nice to enter the battlefield and scry one. I love scrying, it's nice to deal with. We've got Dimir Guildgate, also just a good gate card. We've got a Mat Command Tower, a staple for Commander. You want to play Commander, get a Command Tower, you always get a mana for your mana, you always get to mana fix. We've got Dimir Aqueduct, it's just nice, I get to bounce the lane back to my hand, it's not too bad. Choked Estuary is good to enter the battlefield because I'll usually have a land, or like an island or a swamp, and I can play this first turn. We've got Sunken Hollow, another really nice, just basic, non-basic land that I could just tap. And Morphic Pool, which is also just really, really useful. Yeah, they're all really just nice and basic. Morphic Pool and the Dimir Aqueduct are quite good because I like getting life and scrying and shit. The lands aren't a big deal. They're useful. You want to have a good mana base. I think I've got about 36. But that isn't the big kind of thing about this deck. Everyone will always tell you need... Not everyone. People will tell you need this X amount of lands, and that's always the thing. I don't care about being efficient. This isn't an efficient deck. This is very horribly inefficient, but it is #1 rule when it comes to like playing games like Commander or Pioneer is fun. It's very fun. So the first thing we've got, one of my favorite cards because I only just found it, Mole Drifter! Enters the battlefield, draw 2 cards, cast it for its evoke cost, which is nice because if I have a Araumi on the field, I could just cast it again and I get 4 cards. It is flying, so that's always good to just deal damage with. Champion of Wits. Enters the battlefield, you draw 2 cards, discard 2 cards. Not amazing, but it does have Eternalize, so I don't have to, you know, I can draw 4 cards and discard 2 cards if I want, or I can draw another 2 cards if I want to cast it with Araumi. Then we have Village Rites, good to just sack a creature and draw 2 cards, quite lovely. We have Foreboding Fruit, which I want to replace at some point because it's... I mean, I'm not really creating food tokens often, and I don't really care about food tokens, but it's just a draw spell that I had on hand. Next we've got Deadly Dispute. Also want to get rid of this because I don't really need a treasure token. I mean, it's good to have a 2 cost, draw 2, sacrifice a creature, draw 2 cards, create a treasure token. That's nice, I guess. Merfolk Looter. This is a fucking key for this deck because I can draw a card, discard a creature card, use Araumi to get it back anyway. Then we have Blood Pact, one of my other favorite staple cards. Well, not a staple, just a nice card to draw 2 cards and lose 2 life. And we've got one I have never actually found, I only just recently found, Vorha, Voldian Desecrator. You tap to draw a card and discard a card. If you discard an instant, each opponent loses a life, you gain a life. That's always nice. But then you get to pay 2, sack it, you cast an instant or sorcery card from your graveyard, and then you exile that. Now this is really fun because with Araumi, you're essentially getting 2 free spells. You're getting 2, not free spells, but you're getting 2 key spells. Very, very nice. That you can cast like twice, like I said before. Ooh, there's my hand, that's alright. Next we have the removal / really stupid card that I love, so I'll show that off last. Of course, for removal, this is not efficient like I said, but they're just cards that I had on hand. Didn't say please, good to just counter target spell and put their top 3 cards of their library into the graveyard. It's nice to just get rid of people's shit. Unsummon, also really nice to get rid of people's shit, and it's like a 1 cost, so that's nice. Poison the Cup, one of my favorite destroy target creature spells, because I foretell it early, and then I can just cast it whenever I desperately need to, and I scry to, which I like to scry. Feed the Swarm, another good one, because yeah, I do lose life, but I'd rather get rid of a 12/12 that's gonna, you know, I'd rather get rid of a 12/12, and lose 12 life than have to take the 12 life, and that maybe be more. Murder, another really fun card. I like Murder. It's just a fun card to play. I don't like Murder, like actual Murder, but I like the card. We've got Counterspell. I would like to get rid of a Counterspell, but I don't have anything else that's really like, hey, you can counter spells for cheaper, because I don't have the money to afford a mana drain. I think that's what it's called. We got Negate. That's a nice one. It's good to have a Negate. It's just counter-target non-creature spell, so if anyone wants to play like a spell that gives everything 10/10, stuff like that, it's always nice. Miscast, something I found recently. It's not perfect, but it is a 1 cost to make them pay 3, so if they're playing like a big 9 cost spell, now they're paying 12 for it instead. And High Tide, because it's fun, and I like making sure that I can play big spells for not necessarily cheaper, just easier. I like it. It's fun. Yeah, those are sort of like those are the more basic. Hey, he's kind of what will make the deck not work, but just be competent-ish. Not really. We've got some more mana as well as a key part of the deck. I'm actually going to put a key part of the deck, so I'll get that in a sec. First we have Fellware Stone. Add 1 mana of any color. It's just nice to have a 2-drop to add 1. Dimir Signet, also good. Tap 1 to pay to gain 2. Good. Arcane Signet, good to just play, because, you know, it's Arcane Signet and it's a commander staple. Dimir Signet, Dimir Locket, which is good. You get to sacrifice it for 4 and draw 2 cards, and it only is a 3 cost, so, you know, if you don't need it in the late game, you can sack it for cards. Sol Ring, nice. I like a Sol Ring. Oh, sorry, can't really see them now. Sol Ring, yeah, Sol Ring's really good. And Convergence of Dominion, which is a new commander card from the 3rd most recent set, which is the Universes Beyond. I like this one. So it's basically, if you got your commander, your evoke cost now costs 2 less, and it can't reduce the mana to 1, but you get to pay 3 to tap it to mill 3 cards. Also very useful to get more shit into my graveyard. Next we have the enchantments. So we got King Nefari's Betrayal, good to make myself mill more cards. I exile creature cards from graveyards, and then for the next 2 turns I can cast those cards. Very nice, very nice. Scion of Harvest, so commander creatures, I get to basically get 2 cards. I put 1 into my graveyard and 1 on top of my library, and then I draw a card. Good to get out either early / late, depending on what's happening, so I can play my big spells either early or late, depending on what I want to do. Night Howler, because I'm having a lot of creature cards in my graveyard, so my creatures get way bigger, which is fun. Oubliette, I love the Oubliette. It's fun to just make sure the commanders don't exist anymore. I fucking love this card so much. And Necromancy, which is basically, oh, I can't cast, Araumi is just not here currently. Alright, well, I do want to get a big creature out, and it's nice to have just Necromancy, because it's a fun looking card. Like I said, it's not great, but it's there. It's there. Last we got next, before we got all the main staple of the deck, the creatures, we've got the tutors. Tutors are good. I'd recommend 2 or 3 tutors in a deck if you've got the money or the cards spare. Be warned though, they can be a bit of a trap, because if you fill your deck with only tutors, you do have to worry about people countering your tutor spells. But they can get your combo pieces and your heavy hitters out. So the first one we got, which is one of my favorites, because I got him in like one of my favorite sets at the time, Kaldheim, Vragoth, Blood Sky Sire. Really, really fun looking card. You boast him, so you attack, you pay 2, you search your library for a card, put it on top of your library. That's always fun. Then we got Auric Law Mage, good to get instants or sorceries. Very much pairs very nicely with Vorhan, and I can tap it, and I can get my own creature cards in there as well, so that's also useful. I've got Illicit Shipment, good to just sack a creature if I don't have anything that's, if I have something for 3 or greater that I'm not going to be using at the time, just sack it, get myself 2 cards, put it into my hand, that's nice. We've got Final Parting, which is a really good recursion spell, which is I then get to put 2 cards, I search for 2 cards, put 1 into my hand, 1 into my library, then I shuffle. Good thing, because now, 1 into my hand, 1 into my graveyard, I should say, because that means I can now get something like Wonder, which gives all my creatures flying, if it's in the graveyard. Useful. And then we got the next 2 spells are recursion, but they're more like, they're just really nice recursion spells. We've got Victimize, love this card. Choose 2 target creature cards in your graveyard, sacrifice a creature. If you do, return those cards to the battlefield tapped. Good to get Vodhan if I don't want to use Arumi's ability yet. And Graveyard Shift, very, very nice. If it has Flash, if they're 5 or more cards, that's fine. But I get to return a creature card from a graveyard to the battlefield. Very, very nice, very nice, very nice. Alright, I'm going to put these all to the side for the main piece. The piece of the resistance. The creature cards. So, first we're going to go through just the basic mainstay staples, the cards that I actively like in this deck that are useful. I have a lot of filler because, like I said, I did not build it for efficiency and I didn't have all the cards on hand. But regardless of that, I'm going to stop saying that because it's getting fucking tiring now. Entomba Exarch, nice, because I get to return it. It's just recursion, and it's an ETB effect, and I like ETB effects. And it's also a 4 for 2 with an ETB, which is lovely. Farfinder, it's just a good, nice creature spell to cast, and I get to get a land card. Just, more fantastic. Gourmand, beautiful. Everyone sacrifices a creature, I sacrifice a creature, which is fine, and it's got flying, and it means it gets rid of people's shit, as well as it being a 5/5, which is just amazing. Wolf Infiltrator. This card it's something. I like it because it's got Skulk, and usually if you play it in the early game, people might have a 1/1 or a 2/2, but when you play it like turn 3 or 4, when people have got like 2/2s and 3/3s and 4/4s on the field, you can just swing this, drawing a card, discarding a card, and you get to create a 3/2 Eldrazi token for 2, which is just nice. It's good to get creatures on the field. Just good fodder, because I tend to die in the early game if I get swamped, which I can if I'm not careful. I like to have fodder on the field. Demon's Disciple, just another good removal spell for everyone to just remove shit. Now I get to remove shit, and then I can just usually stack him to himself, and then everyone also loses stuff. Zelix, Zanity Flayer. He's nice. Whenever a player mills 1 or more creature cards, I create a 1/1 Black Horror creature token, and now I get to mill myself or my opponents if I'm feeling particularly cheeky, which I usually am. And then we have one of my favorites, Atris, Oracle of Half-Truths. Enters the battlefield. You look at my top 3 cards in my library and separate them into face down, face up pile. I put one pile into my hand and the other into my graveyard. Just gorgeous, beautiful little card. I love it so much. Here we are. One of my favorite cards in this deck. Reefworm. It's adorable, and it's also fucking horrifying. So, when it dies, you put a 3/3 blue fish creature onto the token onto the battlefield, and then when that dies, it becomes a 6/6, and when the 6/6 dies, it becomes a 9/9 Kraken creature token. When you get 4 Reefworms on the field, and then you proceed to sack all 4 of them, and you get 3/3/3s, and then those 3/3 dies, you get 3 6/6s, and when those 6/6s die, you get 3 9/9s. It just gets stupid funny, especially when you give them flying, which I'm going to be able to do soon, but that's when I show you my update, because I don't have the card yet. Another good creature card is Gravebreaker Lamia. Another tutor. Search my library for a card, put it into my graveyard, then shuffle. And spells from my graveyard cost 1 less to cast. Good pairing with Mr. Araumi. Also, lifelink and a 4/4. Don't really care about the lifelink, but just the search and getting the creature card on the battlefield is so nice. Cloud of Fairies. Enter the battlefield, untap 2 lands. It's really nice. Get Gravebreaker Lamia on there. Now I'm just paying 1 for 2. That's useful. Sir Conrad the Grim. Oh, what a fucking card. If I'm tutoring, everyone loses a life. If I'm milling and a creature card comes into my graveyard, everyone's losing a life. If someone's creature card dies, everyone loses a life. If I put a card into my graveyard that's a creature, everyone loses a life. It is glorious. It's not a win con, but it's really, really, really fucking useful, and I adore this card to death. Next, we've got Impaler Shrike. Whenever it deals combat damage to a player, sacrifice it, draw 3 cards. Hey, I get to draw 3 cards, and if I've got Sir Conrad, everyone loses a life. Cavalier of Night. Beautiful little card. When it enters the battlefield, I sacrifice a creature. When I do, destroy target creature an opponent controls. That's good. It's a 4/5 with lifelink, and if it dies, I return a 3 cost to my field. Yeah, that's just good. I don't have a lot of 3 costs, but it's nice to just get some stuff on the field. Very, very lovely. Peregrine Drake. I like it. I can cast it for like 2, I think. Yeah, I cast it for 2 if I've got both the Gravebreaker Lamia and the artifact of the Tide of Convergence, or whatever it was called again. The Convergence of Dominion on the field makes it cost 3. It costs 3. Now I get to untap up to 5 lands for 3. That's fucking useful. House Guildmage, another way to surveil, also making sure that stuff doesn't untap. But I like to surveil too. I get to get cards that are creatures into my graveyard. Beautiful. Stinkweed Imp. Now, this is a card that I have both a lot of love and a lot of hate for. It doesn't have Death Touch, technically, because Death Touch I don't think was around at the time. This has, as long as it deals combat damage to a creature, I destroy it. It also has Dredge 5. I love Dredge. I love it. It's one of my favorite mechanics, because if you would draw a card, you just mill those cards, and then you return it to from your graveyard to your hand. It is gorgeous for getting creature stuff into your graveyard, making sure that you've got your pieces set up so you can just swing and hit, and it's fun. But I haven't seen a lot of good Dredge cards apart from this one. I have to find a few more. If anyone's got a recommendation, please put it in the comment below. I'd love to see them. Actually, that goes for the deck itself. Any recommendations for cards that'll make this deck just that much sweeter, please put them in there. I might use them, and I won't shout you out, but I'll say thanks. Well, I'll shout you out anyway, but that regardless of the point. Avon Heartstabber. As long as there are 5 or more cards with mana values, with different mana values, it gets +2/+2 and has Death Touch, and it dies, mill 2 cards, draw a card. It's just nice, it's flying, it's a 1/1, if it dies, I get to mill 2 cards and draw a card. Cool, now I'm getting more creatures and more cards in my graveyard. And here we have one of my favorite cards. One of my favorite cards of all time, just for the way it looks. Not for the actual ability itself, the ability itself is fucking amazing, but it is Raksha's Debaser. When it enters the battlefield, when it attacks, you put target creature card from defending player's graveyard onto the battlefield under my control. That's really useful. It's also got an encore cost, which does the same thing, but here's the thing. I can technically cast it for cheaper, which is good. It's a 6/6, which is good. It gets people's stuff from their graveyard to my battlefield, which is good. It's just really fun. It's a cat demon. Its name is Raksha. Or Raksha debate. Is it Raksha? Yeah, it's Raksha. Rakshasa. What a weird name. Oh, it's cool. Next we have another one of my favorite cards. Gyruda, Doom of Depths. When it enters the battlefield, each player puts the top 4 cards of their library into their graveyard. I put a creature card with an even mana converted mana cost from among those cards under the battlefield under my control. So fucking useful. So useful. I love this card to death. Next we've got another really fun tutor. Vile Entomber. Enters the battlefield, search your library for a card, put it into your graveyard, then shuffle. I have a lot of tutors in this deck because I just like making sure I've got all my pieces out that make the deck work. This has been going on for 20 minutes. Fuck. Alright, let's, not really rapid fire, but let's just flash through these because this is about near the end. We've got, quote-unquote, Whisper Agent. When it enters the battlefield, surveil 1. Just look at the top card of my library. That's good. Tombbound Lynch. It's got, whenever it enters the battlefield or deals combat damage, draw a card, discard a card. Also useful. We've got Crypt Lurker. When it enters the battlefield, sacrifice a creature or discard a card. If I do, draw a card. Good to get more creatures into my graveyard. We've got Gorging Vulture. Enters the battlefield, mill 4 cards. Gain a life for each creature in the put into the graveyard this way. Really useful. Crow of Dark Tidings. Enters the battlefield or dies. Mill 2 cards. Also good to get creature cards. Fleshbag Marauder. When it enters the battlefield, each player sacrifices a creature. It's a good way to get rid of shit. And then we've got Ravenous Chupacabra, which is when it enters the battlefield, destroy target creature an opponent controls. And finally, and last, and definitely least, Viscera Seer. When you sacrifice a creature and you scry 1. Holy fuck. So, small overview. Araumi gets onto the field. Tap it, exile a creature card, pay its encore cost, which is just its mana cost, play it. Most of the time, I'm going to be looking to play things like Rakshas Debaser. I want to play things like Vodhar. I want to play shit like what do they call it again? Gravebaker Lamia if I have to. If it's not dead, I don't want to be playing it. But if it dies, I want to get in there. Gyruda. I want to play all the big ETB scary shit, and that's my goal. And hopefully, once I've got more cards that make this deck just that little bit more slimy, not slimy, just that little bit more grating on the players, it's gonna be awesome. But yeah, thanks for watching. Thank you for watching my rundown for 23 minutes. It's been really fun. I will update you all on my Warhammer soon, because I have a few models that you have never seen, but I'm excited to show them to you because I've had them for a very long time. But yeah, I'll see you guys later. Have a lovely afternoon, evening, or night. And thank you guys for watching. I really do appreciate it. Bye!